There is a moment in every survivor's journey that changes everything, a single instant where the universe tilts and you finally see the predator for what they truly are beneath all the carefully constructed layers of deception and charm. It arrives quietly, almost casually, wrapped in what looks like ordinary conversation, dressed in the familiar clothing of casual interest that you have seen 1,000 times before from this exact same source of manipulation. You are standing there, minding your own business, perhaps at a mutual gathering or crossing paths in some space you both inhabit, when they appear with that predatory timing they have perfected over years of hunting vulnerable targets. The eyes lock onto yours with that familiar predatory focus, and you feel it before you hear it, that ancient recognition in your body that screams danger while your mind struggles to maintain politeness. They ask you out, not as a genuine question really, but as a test designed to measure your current level of susceptibility to their influence. A probe sent deep into your psyche to determine if you are still accessible, still available, still theirs to claim whenever they decide the timing suits their needs. The words hang in the air between you, heavy with unspoken expectations and the weight of every previous interaction where you failed to protect your own boundaries. But something is different this time. Something fundamental has shifted inside you that they cannot see, cannot predict, and absolutely cannot control through any of their usual methods of manipulation. The ground beneath this exchange has changed while they were not paying attention, and you are no longer standing in the same psychological territory where they once held complete dominion over your responses. You do not answer the way they expect, you do not flatter their ego with immediate acceptance, hesitate with visible confusion, or explain yourself into a position of vulnerability. You simply never do what they are demanding, never engage with the premise they have offered, never step into the trap they have so carefully constructed from your past patterns of people-pleasing behavior. The silence that follows is not empty or awkward in the way they are accustomed to manipulating. It is loaded with everything they never wanted you to discover about your own power and autonomy. Every second that passes without your compliance writes a new narrative where they are not the central character in your story, where their desires do not automatically become your obligations. This is the moment the power dynamic cracks open like an egg, revealing the rotten interior that was always hidden beneath the shell of their manufactured persona. This is when the mask starts slipping because the supply has stopped flowing, when the performance collapses without an audience willing to play their assigned role in the narcissist's eternal drama. Most people will never understand what happens next in all its psychological complexity and devastating personal cost to the narcissist's fragile sense of self. They will call it simple rejection, messy drama, or unfortunate miscommunication between two people who wanted different things from a potential connection. What follows is psychological warfare at its most raw, most revealing, most devastating to the person who believed themselves invincible in the arena of human manipulation. And you are about to witness it from the inside, from the perspective of someone who has finally broken the spell that once held them captive. Welcome to the truth about what happens when a narcissist asks you out and you never do, the reality that no one talks about in polite conversation but every survivor needs to understand. This is not a love story gone wrong or a simple case of unrequited interest between two incompatible people searching for connection. To understand what you just triggered in the mind of this disordered individual, you must first understand the architecture of their need and the desperate hunger that drives every interaction they initiate with potential sources of narcissistic supply. They do not want you as a person with your own dreams, fears, and independent existence separate from their needs. The invitation itself is never genuine in the way healthy people extend offers of connection and companionship to others they find interesting or attractive. It is a fishing line cast into waters they believe they own through previous conquest, expecting the same hungry bite they have always received from you and countless others before. Inside their mind, your acceptance was never optional or something they considered might not happen according to their predetermined script. It was predetermined, scripted, guaranteed by every previous encounter where you played your part in their theater of control and provided the reactions they needed to feel powerful. They have spent weeks, months, or years studying your patterns with the intensity of a predator learning the habits of prey they intend to consume. They know your vulnerabilities like a cartographer knows shorelines, mapping every inlet of insecurity and every bay of past trauma they can exploit. Your hesitation in the past was recorded as weakness to be leveraged, filed away for future use when they needed you compliant. Your politeness was filed as permission to continue advancing past your boundaries. Your confusion was catalogued as interest that could be cultivated into full-blown obsession. They are not asking you on a date in any meaningful sense of two people exploring potential romantic connection. They are verifying their control over a resource they believe belongs to them. They are checking if the machinery of manipulation still responds to their touch, if the buttons they installed still produce the desired effects. The question itself is a trap disguised as romance, a velvet glove around an iron fist that demands your submission without appearing to demand anything so aggressive as compliance. It is designed to make refusal feel like rudeness, to frame your boundaries as hurtful rejection of their vulnerable outreach. When you do not respond according to their script, you break the contract they believed was eternal and unbreakable. You become unreadable, unpredictable, uncontrollable in ways that threaten their entire sense of order and dominance in their interpersonal universe. This unreadability is their absolute nightmare, the thing that wakes them in cold sweats and drives their most desperate behaviors. Their entire identity depends on being able to read and rewrite the people around them, to anticipate and manipulate every response before it happens. You have just become a ghost in their machine, a glitch in their matrix of control that they cannot explain or fix with their usual toolkit of emotional manipulation. And they will not handle this development with grace or acceptance, because they possess neither quality in any genuine form. The first thing you will notice is the confusion that spreads across their features, not yours but theirs, foreign and unwelcome on a face that prides itself on complete emotional control. It flashes across their face faster than they can hide it behind their practiced expressions of casual indifference. They will smile, but the smile will not reach their eyes because those eyes are too busy calculating, recalibrating, searching desperately for what went wrong in their perfect system of manipulation. The micro-expressions betray their internal panic even as their mouth forms the shapes of relaxed amusement. They might repeat the question, slower this time, as if you did not understand the words rather than recognizing that you understood perfectly and chose not to engage. As if the problem is your comprehension, not your refusal, as if volume and repetition can force compliance where charm failed. When you still do not engage with their performance, the temperature drops palpably between you, and the charm evaporates like morning mist under harsh sunlight. You are watching someone mentally rearrange their entire strategy in real time, and the speed of their adaptation reveals how little any of their previous behavior was genuine. They will try another angle with the flexibility of a predator switching tactics when the prey proves unexpectedly elusive. Maybe vulnerability manufactured for sympathy, maybe humor designed to make your silence seem like missing the joke, maybe a subtle put-down disguised as concern about your social life and emotional availability. Each attempt reveals more than they intend about the mechanics of their manipulation, the levers they pull and the buttons they press. You are seeing the puppet strings, the machinery behind the performance, and once seen, these mechanisms can never be unseen or trusted again. The desperation begins to leak through the cracks of their composure in small ways at first, a tightening of the jaw, a narrowing of the gaze, a shift in posture that speaks of aggression barely restrained. It is the physical manifestation of their internal crisis, the body betraying what the words attempt to conceal. They cannot comprehend a world where they are not chosen, where their selection is not automatic and guaranteed by their own self-assessment of superiority. Their ego was built on a foundation of being perpetually selected, desired, chased by those they deemed worthy of their attention. Your silence is rewriting their reality without their permission, changing the narrative they had prepared for this encounter. You have become an author in a story where they demanded to be the only writer, the only director, the only actor of any significance. This is the turning point where hunter becomes haunted by the prey that escaped, where predator realizes the target has developed teeth they never anticipated and a will to use them. The dynamic has shifted irreversibly, and they know it even if they cannot accept it. The collapse does not announce itself with dramatic shouting or obvious scenes that would make the nature of their disorder clear to casual observers. It begins with a coldness that seeps into every interaction that follows, a calculation that replaces the previous warmth of manipulation. They will start gathering information about you with renewed intensity, not out of interest in your well-being, but out of necessity for their own psychological survival. They need to understand how they lost control, where the break in their system occurred, who might have influenced your newfound resistance. Mutual friends will receive carefully crafted stories designed to paint you as the villain in this narrative they are constructing. You are suddenly cold, unstable, leading them on for months, playing games with their genuinely offered heart that you cruelly rejected without explanation. The smear campaign is not merely anger or hurt feelings expressed poorly. It is reconstruction of reality. They are rebuilding their narrative to explain why the impossible happened, why their guaranteed conquest failed, why you became inaccessible to their influence. 35. In private, away from any witnesses who might see the mask fully slip, the rage is volcanic in its intensity and destructive potential. They will replay your interaction hundreds of times, searching for the moment their power failed them, the exact second when you became uncontrollable. They may attempt to manufacture crises to force your attention, emergencies that only you can solve, problems that require your immediate response and return to their sphere of influence. These manufactured dramas test whether your silence is permanent or merely a negotiation tactic they can overcome. When you remain absent from these manufactured emergencies, the desperation mutates into something darker and more dangerous than simple romantic disappointment. Obsession replaces affection, surveillance replaces curiosity, and you become the subject of their consuming need to understand their own failure. Their social media becomes a performance of happiness they do not feel, designed specifically for your witness even if they have blocked you and you must hear of it through mutual connections. Every post hopes to trigger your reaction, to prove you are watching, to force you back into engagement with their life. The truth they cannot face is simple and devastating to everything they believe about themselves and their relationships. You were never special to them as an individual worthy of love. You were supply, a resource to be consumed, and supply does not get to quit or choose its own allocation. Their unraveling is the sound of an empire built on sand encountering its first real storm, the collapse of structures that seemed solid only because no one had tested their foundations. You are that storm, and you are not even trying to destroy them. Your simple existence as a free person is enough. Here is what you must understand about your own power and the nature of the victory you have achieved without violence or confrontation. You did not defeat them with argument or confrontation or explanation that they would only twist against you. You defeated them with absence, with the simple devastating choice to not participate in their theater of control, to withhold the reaction they needed like oxygen. Your silence was not emptiness but a wall they could not climb or breach. The narcissist's greatest fear is not hatred or anger or any emotional response that still connects you to them through intensity of feeling. It is irrelevance, the void where their importance should be, and you have made them irrelevant without saying a single word against them. Every day you continue not responding, you prove that their empire was always an illusion maintained only by your participation and the participation of others like you. Without supply, the narcissist is just a person alone with their own emptiness, and that is their true nightmare. They will find new supply because they always do, moving through people like a wildfire moves through dry grass, consuming and leaving ash. But they will never forget the one who disappeared while standing right in front of them, who became unreachable without moving away. Your healing does not require their acknowledgement or understanding of what they did to you. It does not require closure, explanation, or the satisfaction of watching them suffer consequences for their manipulation of your good nature and trust. The victory is in your freedom, in the space you reclaimed from their occupation of your thoughts and emotions. In the silence that became your fortress instead of your prison, protecting what they can no longer touch or contaminate with their need. You have learned the most dangerous secret about narcissists that they try to hide from everyone, including themselves. They have no power that you do not hand them through your attention, your reaction, your engagement with their manufactured reality. The door they tried to open remains closed, not locked in anger or sealed with hatred, just closed. And you have already walked away towards something they cannot follow or comprehend, a life defined by your own terms rather than their needs. They asked you out, expecting the same compliance they had always received, and you never did what they demanded, never gave them what they needed, never became the supply they counted on consuming. And in that never, in that simple refusal to participate, you became everything they fear most in this world. Free.